Hello, it's Brad Laurie or BlockchainBrad, and today I'm honoured to speak once again with Mo Dong. He is the co-founder of Celer, or the Celer Network. Mo, you're in Sydney right now. You're in your hotel. You've just been at EduCon. Thank you very much for making time today, mate.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for the invitation, as always.
You're very welcome, mate. Now, obviously, you're well known in the blockchain space, obviously for your Layer-2 solution. Let's explore this a little bit, though, because some people may not know. They may have just entered into the blockchain arena and the crypto community. Now, you explain that you are the most advanced Layer-2 solution, so built on a blockchain for blockchain. Can you explain to us, though, Mo, in a nutshell, once again, what the Celer Network's actually trying to do?
Celer Network provides this kind of a layer-2 scaling platform with a coherent architecture for both technology and cryptoeconomics. To put it in a simple way, you can think of it as a programmable or smart contract that supported Lightning Network, right? So, people are talking about Lightning Network these days a lot, but Lightning Network only support like payments. An analogy here is that just like Ethereum supported arbitrary smart contract transactions, Celer Network is like supporting this kind of arbitrary smart contract transactions, not on layer 1 but on layer 2. So Celer Network will provide this kind of a secure, easy to integrate, and extremely interactive and low-cost transaction capability on blockchain.
Okay, so what you're saying is you're extending it to the capabilities and the capacity and the functionality of something like Ethereum as an example, because they obviously support smart contracts. You're talking about that domain rather than just simply the payment transactions for peer-to-peer money as they once, as the first iterations of blockchain promulgated and promoted. So really it's about trying to make sure apps can function, and we'll talk about whether or not that's building in Celer. But let's discuss some of the key words. For example, secure and low cost, which you've said. How can you explain to all of us why your layer 2 solution is arguably the most secure or the lowest cost, or if indeed it is?
Yeah, so in layer 2, it's fundamentally lower cost comparing to layer 1 transactions. The reason for that is in layer 1 transactions, when you send out the transaction, what happens is that you actually broadcast their transaction to the entire network, and then the miners need to reach consensus about the about this transaction, or like they need to basically pack up blocks and generate a new block. And effectively, every miner in the network is basically computing this transaction like, again, right? So there are n times of transaction computed. But this is not the same case for layer 2. In layer 2, most of the transaction only happens with limited parties who are involved in a particular application. So in that case, it's really just you and whoever is actually relevant to this application that is doing the computation of the transaction without actually incurring the entire network's overhead of doing this computing. So from a cost standpoint of view, layer 2 is inherently and always going to be fundamentally lower cost. So in fact, in Celer Network, the payment for this kind of a very small micro payments, the cost, I think, a sustainable cost margin or like an operating margin for this kind of off-chain service provider is about 100 times smaller than these miners who are charging transaction fees. So basically, just like taking a very concrete example, if you send out like $1 on Ethereum, it may charge you like 20 cents fee when the fee market is congested, or like the block is congested. But on Celer Network is always a very, very low fee of like a 1%, 2%, like 1 cent or something like that.
Right.
So that is only just talking about payment. Now, as I mentioned, the Celer Network is not only about payments. Celer Network is also about like smart contract transactions associated with these kind of payments, right? So let's say, if I'm playing a chess game or something like that, each chess game's move on blockchain on Ethereum may cost you like $1 straight up, or even like more than that. But on Celer Network, these transactions are close to like no cost. So this big difference here is what we think that layer 2 is extremely essential to bring mass adoption to blockchain.
Right. Now, clearly that's a big deal because people essentially want to save money, Mo, whether they're an enterprise, whether they're developers themselves, or more importantly, the user. So what you're saying is by having that, injection of Celer into the system or the stack from the blockchain at the bottom right through to the apps, it's going to mean that people can literally save money, regardless of which party they are, because it's the applications essentially that matter. It's the use case. So in that case, the question would be the blockchain itself. Are they substantial? Are they robust enough to cope with the onboarding of the applications and you in the middle as you build out?
Yeah. So I guess the question is like, what's our relationship with the underlying blockchain?
Right. And
yeah,
can that blockchain cope as you build with the applications on top?
Yeah. So Celer operates in a way that is not competing with any layer 1 blockchain. So for example, we're not saying that we're competing with Ethereum. So we're actually empowering whatever is underlying, right? So this empowering aspect is like coming from many different aspects. The first aspect is that from the developer standpoint of view, they don't need to relearn the stuff that they already learned. Let's say you are a developer already learned like how to build the Ethereum application and stuff like that. You don't need to like basically forget about like the Ethereum application or Ethereum smart contract technologies. You just need to learn a little bit more to start to build on top of Celer, and at the same time, significantly boost your applications, the user retention, conversion ratio, active users, and all that metrics, and finally reach sustainable monetization.
Right.
So that's what we're thinking.
It makes sense, Mo, but let's use analogy as a car, for example. Now, Ethereum has a very substantial engine for their car, and very reputable. They have a huge community. But you're essentially adding, you're injecting super fuel into that engine, or you're doing things to tweak that engine to enhance it as a layer 2. But the question I have is, given that you've explained you're agnostic and you could apply to multiple blockchains, arguably, not just Ethereum, who's to say though that the integrity of the underlying blockchain is substantial? Who's to say that they can you can onboard onto that and they can function successfully, because you're going to need to rely on those blockchains, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. We're definitely going to rely on the underlying security provided by the underlying blockchain. And I think it's really a choice of the end users and developers. So we're going to basically follow wherever the developer goes. Right, so let's say if developer says that, okay, Ethereum is a great blockchain, let's build on this. So yeah, perfectly fine. We will support Ethereum. If the developer or like there are other sentiment changes, we will look into like other blockchains as well.
Right.
But in terms of the multi-blockchain support or blockchain agnosticity part, I want to add something here. That is, we shouldn't treat the entire decentralized application developer base as of now as a static thing. That is like, this is it. There's no other developers going to enter this market. This is, I think, a very wrong mindset. That we shouldn't like treat the this entire size of the pie just as like this small amount. I think actually the layer 2's job is to actually make the developing process of a decentralized application so easy that we can actually expand the basis of developer basis. That let's say we just pull some like random guy or random developer from any other community, from like a payment service community, from a gaming community. They can just directly build on top of blockchain without even knowing what blockchain is. Right. So that's where Celer is going, and we have some like upcoming releases of some interesting middleware that you will see like how this kind of manifests.
Okay, so really what you're saying is you want to make it seamless so that people don't have to have that underlying or fundamental blockchain knowledge, but as a dev, they can utilize something quite simply and then build the app. So the app and the use case seems to be paramount according to what you're saying. You want people to onboard to use the tech, not necessarily understand the fundamentals underneath it. But let's explore this in the context of some of your key points. One of them is off-chain. Now, you're a huge proponent of off-chain holistically. Why does it matter, Mo? Why is it useful to be off-chain? Some argue with their own projects that on-chain is the way to go. So why off-chain?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I sort of answered this question like several months ago from a technology point of view, from like, a theoretical point of view. Now, because like we're doing this updated interview, I want to share something about like the practical aspects, right?
Okay.
So, since we have launched two versions of testnet in the past 6 months, we have gathered a significant amount of user data and user activity data that we can share and, basically have a hard proof in reality that layer 2 and Offchain is definitely 100% helping, and
Okay.
it's helping much more than like just using on-chain solutions. So just to share some numbers with you here, we launched the two versions of the testnet, and in the past 5 months, we grow the monthly active user of our testnet by 56 times. So we grow the number of users per month from 310 for the ending the first month to 18,000. Just beginning of April.
And was that all organic as well, that growth?
Yeah. Like the users are just like onboarding this application, and the user is basically downloading an application we released called the CelerX. So you can download this stuff at celerx.com .app actually. And this is like a user accessing point to Celer network. And in that app, you can send payment instantly with no fee, and you can also play some like a pretty interesting board game with your friends. So that is like this 18,000 monthly active user number is really just for that particular application, right? So and the user is really global. This is like the power of blockchain and power of Offchain, I would say, is that it can achieve this kind of a significant growth trajectory with like users from 67 different countries. In fact, we have users from Madagascar.
Right.
And
well, let's talk about that though, Mo. Let's talk about that more deeply. You say user. Now, CelerX was a well-promoted product that you'd created. And obviously that technology, as you said, has been adopted and widespread. But when we say user, what do we actually mean there? Because obviously that all the metrics you were talking about with the 56 times indicates they've downloaded it ready for use. But what does it mean then to use CelerX and in a sustained way?
Yeah, this is a great question, right? So, let me dive deep a little bit on the user base side. So, monthly active user, there are ways to count it like this, kind of fluffy in the sense that, okay, if you download the app, you count as monthly active user.
Exactly.
We don't count that, right? So the way we count, or like, let me just share a little bit about like our product market fit data. So we have 18,000 monthly active user, and each user plays about 10 games per month, right? So it is not something like, okay, they download and they look at the app and then just never comes back.
Okay.
And we have a 20% day 7 retention ratio. That is, basically, let's say there are 100 people downloaded this app on day 1. And on day 7, how many people are still on the app? How many people comes back to check out the app or play the game? It's 20%. So 20% it is far beyond any decentralized application, on-chain decentralized application we see today. This is actually resembling very much like a very good game or very viral game's retention ratio. So that's something that we are very...
It's really impressive, Mo, that you've gone and done this analytics and assessment, because 1/5 of the people are coming back now, and this is early days in this nascent period. So I would imagine that this is going to only increase as you develop the tech. Have you developed more apps that can be utilized on the network?
Yeah, I mean, the critical thing to note here is that this is just one application on a paper money testnet. Like the money flowing on the testnet is not even real. Like we created some token called game token, so people can kind of compete with each other in the game, in the off-chain game that is extremely interactive. You cannot even feel the existence of blockchain, and win kind of the quote unquote money with each other. So we think that monthly we have 4 million transactions processed using our off-chain transaction engine, and we believe that this demonstration or this early validation can prove to the developer that this kind of smooth interaction and extremely high transaction volume can bring a very sustainable monetization path for developers building on top of Celer.
Got it.
many of the developers are like heavily subsidized by different kind of ecosystem. Basically, let's say there are some blockchain ecosystem are basically paying the developers to do the development.
Well, let's be real. I know you don't like to name names, but I will. So Tron's doing that insanely. They're sponsoring a huge number of applications, and there's a lot of contention about that particular ecosystem. But you are right. There's a lot of sponsorship. But what about that organic growth? How do you foster beyond? Because that's not sustainable, that model. Just to go and sponsor everything.
Exactly. That's what I mentioned, right? So we believe that if you build on Celer, it's going to be having the smoothest interaction experience on blockchain, and therefore it's going to generate extremely high transaction volume. Therefore, it's going to actually provide a very sustainable monetization path for the developers building on top of Celer. So basically, like on Celer, we are hoping that just any developers who can build fun games, fun applications, can leverage the Celer's platform and get real money return without actually having any subsidization.
Right. Well, having very low fees, if not, all the way through to no fee, is going to be a very attractive carrot for that developer. What is interesting also is off-chain, as you're saying, it essentially frees up the blockchain itself for doing more of its primary function. And that means that people can have a more seamless experience when they are using the application and in the network. But again, I want to talk to you about TPS because when we last spoke, there's always these buzzwords and discussions of huge capacity. But in reality, the off-chain is designed to, as we were talking about, make sure that the flow is there, the ease of use. So is everything functioning the way it's meant to for the magnitude of the blockchain you currently are? Is the TPS enough? And are you building on that to really just suit the needs?
Right. So, I mean, like, I think we talked about this, before as well. Like, the TPS is not the only measure, and I don't think TPS is actually a critical measure here. TPS is just like saying how many transactions you can process per second on average, right? So each transaction can still take extremely long, even if you have a high TPS. So, I want to first highlight here that it's off-chain solutions, especially things like Celer network, can accelerate in the sense of latency. That is, I send out the transaction, this transaction get almost instantly final, right? So like in the millisecond level, the transaction get final. Therefore, you can actually have a real-time human-to-human interaction based on blockchain.
Right.
So on that front, Celer is already achieving about 20,000 times faster finality comparing to Ethereum underlying blockchain. So it's really like a millisecond level. Now, and TPS is really a more suitable measure for this kind of underlying consensus engine of blockchain, right? So basically, you have a consensus process. What is TPS of that? That is a good measure. But for layer 2 solutions, the more nodes you add, there's like really no bound. There's no real fundamental or inherent bound in the TPS you can achieve. The more nodes you have, the more participants you have, the TPS is just horizontally growing.
Sure, but I want to just interrupt there and ask you though, given that, because I understand that giving a number is not really practical, but the reality is that as your demands grow, as more applications come in, you're going to need more nodes and you're going to need more scalability. So is that in sync with the growth of your ecosystem? That's the thing I want to know, so that doesn't.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That part, yeah, definitely.
Right. So what kind of numbers are we talking about though, Mo? Because obviously when we're talking about traditional sectors, Visa, for example, there is requisites specifically for what they need to achieve. So are you hitting the mark right now in that?
Yeah. So maybe I can provide like a per node number, and we can just multiply with like however much node we have, from a rough standpoint. So currently one node in Celer can easily process 10,000 transactions per second, around like that mark, and that processing is only just like it's only even just a payment. But if you like include the smart contract transactions in it, it's actually even higher than that. So yeah. I wouldn't say like I wouldn't think like the transaction per second is any.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like you have a problem at all. But how many nodes are you currently how many nodes are operating in your ecosystem now?
So in the testnet, we have like 3 nodes basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're expecting that to build, no doubt, as this ecosystem and network evolve. Now,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you more generally about the competition out there, because there's lots of layer 2 solutions emerging now. Some of them are also aiming to onboard onto Ethereum. So is that a concern at all for you, Mo, given that some of these other solutions are arguably also in top tech?
I mean, like, yeah, again, like I don't see that, competition. I mean, competition is always healthy in the sense that it proves that direction we're going is correct. Like everyone is seeing this direction. But then, Celer has, I would say, a very significant advantage there, both on the technology side and also on the crypto economic side, right? So on the technology side, we are the first one that released all the SDKs that can build generalized state channel applications that is just not only just the payments, but also like generally scaling any kind of smart contract transactions. And we are the first one to release the mobile-based, user-facing applications. And we are also the first one to have this crypto economic construct that solves the liquidity challenge and also solves the state availability challenge in layer 2 networks.
Right.
And on top of that, we are the world's largest operating generalized off-chain scaling solution right now. So we're definitely leading the charge.
Okay.
It's like a yeah.
Well, I was going to interrupt, but let's break it down though, Mo, because that was quite a lot. Now, the last point you made about liquidity and that cryptoeconomic effort to really explicate how you're going to achieve this in a very real sense, especially for the users and those who want to support the utility. How are you going to do that, Mo? Give us some information about that cryptoeconomic design, and most importantly, how you're going to really ensure the long-term viability via ensuring liquidity in this system.
Yeah, so like the crypto economic design has 2 parts. One is like ensuring the liquidity of the network, and the other part is ensuring the security of the network, right? So on the liquidity side, off-chain service providers need liquidity to operate properly, right? So they basically need to have a large amount of liquidity to act as deposit or to act as kind of like a counter, a staking hold.
Right.
Now, we use something called liquidity backing auction and a proof of liquidity commitment mining to create a incentive mechanism for people to kind of borrow and lend liquidity, form a market of borrow and lending liquidities from liquidity backers to the borrowers, basically. The borrowers being the off-chain service providers. And there's also proof of liquidity commitment mining. That is basically, if you stake your liquidity in the system, you're virtually mining a Celer token. So basically, using this incentive mechanism of POLC, basically we achieve a very abundant and stable liquidity pool for Celer network long term. Okay. So that's something like, yeah. Okay. And also, that's not only the Celer tokens use. Celer tokens usage is also used in State Guardian network. And from a very high level, State Guardian network is ensuring the state availability when the users are actually offline, when the users are not always online. So we actually have a very detailed description that I made, in video and also in audio in our YouTube channel about our crypto economics and what is the use case for Celer token. So you guys can check that out.
Yeah, and I would advise people to also do that. And I've noticed it's also published in Telegram. There's discussions that are quite active in that area as well. And I know that you're there sometimes, Mo. But I also wanted to talk to you about the price decline. And I know that you don't like to talk about it, but the reality is that has happened over time. And given that, I want to talk about the utility token itself. How can you ensure the growth of this token over time? If you indeed can, given you have a strong cryptoeconomic foundation, people who support the utility, they would still need to know that there's a correlation between the token itself and the potential growth of your whole network. Right now, we're seeing most projects that simply don't have that correlation. There's a lack of token velocity as well. How are you building that in for the long term, Mo, so we look at utility in a different light?
Yeah. I mean, like, first of all, a Celer token is closely bind with the crypto economic construct of Celer. system. So the good thing is that let me just back up a little bit. And from a high level, if you're holding Celer token and if you stake your Celer token into State Guardian network, for example, you'll be able to receive income basically. In the sense that if you do the work for the network and your Celer token is like a membership or kind of a membership card that you have to hold to be able to be eligible to do the work for the network.
Right.
Once you do
the work,
it's
almost a license to work.
Yeah, it's almost like a license to work. And once you work, of course, like the more certificate you hold, the more work you will be assigned. But in return, the more income you will generate, right? So because Celer network token is very essential to the security of this entire network. So when the network usage grows, the usage of Celer token is actually also going to grow.
Okay.
And basically, the Celer token's income ratio is also going to grow. So Celer token is actually having a very clear valuation model just with that.
Right. Well, now let's talk about present day though, because you had your IEO, and we can talk about that later. But right now, there's a steady decline, a slight decline. It's not significant. It's just very minute at the moment. But it is in that phase. So, is it because it's early days that we're not seeing that upward trajectory yet? In terms of that correlation, is that to come as the ecosystem builds and you onboard more applications?
Yeah, but let me just first say that if we look at the crypto market, right? So the altcoin market has crashed 90% or 95%, like even some tokens that get 99% slashed, right? In the past 6 months. So Celer's network value now is, if you look at the number, I haven't checked the number recently, but around 180 to 190 million for the total network valuation, right? So we basically are not so last round, like when we raised the last private sale round, it was 150 million valuation.
Right. And so there is an increase from that point.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this price from this perspective, Celer has been doing tremendously good, I would say, tremendously well, comparing to the market. So basically, we beat the market.
Sure, but to be fair though, there are some, as you said, altcoins, to use your term, that are actually starting to show upward movement, upward trajectory, even in this bear market though, Mo. So in that sense, the big question must still be, as you evolve, as you're now live on that secondary market, is it going to be more overt as you build that this correlation does happen? Because we can't keep using the excuse of the bear over time to explain why the trajectory is just not ubiquitous, and not conspicuous. So do you anticipate, as you evolve as a network, that this indeed will correlate more overtly?
I unfortunately cannot answer that question because I cannot make any promises on any kind of a price movement, and this is largely determined by the market. Right. But what I can say is that we will once we launch on the mainnet and once Celer tokens usage start to pick up, fundamentally from the theoretical point of view, the Celer tokens fundamental value anchoring does increases with the usage of the network, right? Sure. So basically, more network get used and the more anchoring. Now, exactly how much that is correlated, it's really determined by the market. And yes, market is a reflection of multiple things. It's a reflection of the fundamental. It's a reflection of the speculation. It's a reflection of many things. Right. But there's no price guarantee whatsoever.
Sure. And Mo, I really appreciate your honesty about this, because you're quite frank about it. And the reality is speculation is part of the ecosystem as well. What are your thoughts on that? Is it a problem for top tech teams like yourselves who are trying to really stabilize this, trying to build this out for utility, when you see this constant flux, this constant volatility, and this constant injection of promoting and FOMOing speculative action on the blockchain?
I think this is really just a manifest. So it really just shows that we're still early in the crypto technology cycle. As pioneers and as explorers, this issue is faced not only by us, but basically every single blockchain project.
Right.
And this is like an environment that we need to live in. And at the same time, pushing for real adoption, pushing for like real value of the project, and pushing for like real technology achievement and advancement, basically.
Right. Although to really build out this, you also need partners, and you need partners that have reciprocal support. Mm-hmm. So what is the nature of your technical partners? I mean, some examples here are IoTex, Dfinity, QuarkChain, Nervos, who I spoke to recently, Chainlink, Qtum, AELF, Anchor, I think I mentioned. Now, many of these have connections to China. Some don't, but some of them are very strong by reputation. So what do they actually do for you, Mo, as a Celer network, beyond just simply the initial partnership?
Yeah. Like, let me I add one more, which is like pretty recent. So we very recently announced a partnership with Trust Wallet, which is Binance's official wallet. And, let me start from there. Okay. Basically, the integration with Trust Wallet and basically the partnership with Trust Wallet, I would say is very tangible and immediately tangible. Like in this summer, we are expecting to release the integration between Trust Wallet and Celer. So first of all, like let me make a big clarification there. Like a lot of people, upon seeing this partnership, is just assuming that Trust Wallet is going to list the Celer token, which is like totally not true, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not as simple as that. It is a Trust Wallet user will be able to leverage Celer's Layer-2 scaling technology. It will be able to use application built on top of Celer. So, and I think that's a huge deal right there, because millions of users will be able to access the application built on top of Celer immediately through Trust Wallet. We're also offering like benefits to Trust Wallets and also Trust Wallet users, because the application built on top of Celer indeed is more interactive and has higher retention and has higher stickiness and has higher engagement time per day. So this part, let me just like use this example to show this kind of a mutually beneficial relationship we have with our technical partners. Similar things goes with every other of our partners. For Dfinity, for example, we have completed the integration with Dfinity. And if Dfinity actually launches, we'll and I think that's pretty soon.
I hope so. Sure, I hope so, because it was a substantial project. It was a substantial raise, so they do need to get a move on.
And there are good people there.
They are.
And I'm looking forward to that. But once they launch, we'll be the first and probably only Layer-2 solution on top. So,
okay, that's substantial itself, Mo, because you're talking about potentially having exclusive relationships with some of these really big chains as well, these big layer one solutions. And
so sorry. Like let me correct there. Like I don't think the partnerships is like mutually exclusive or something like that. Mm-hmm. But like we're definitely the first. There's no question in that.
Right, and that's exciting for Dfinity as well, and it's exciting to hear that they are hopefully going to move into the marketplace sooner than later. Now, obviously, we could go through the list, Mo. We don't have time to, but you're making the point that there is genuine, real value in these partnerships beyond just that initial listing, because we've seen superficial partnerships, we've seen too much of them, and I just want to make sure from you that there is purpose for these for the long term.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk a little bit more about the test nets and the move towards the main net. Are you doing some phases of this in your testing? Where are you at right now? In EduCon, the conference you were recently at, you explained that there was a private alpha. So can you tell us through how we're going to move forward quickly through this continuum until we get to mainnet?
So in terms of timeline, we're looking at launching private alpha next week. We already started the early registration process. So the private alpha this private alpha version is really focusing on testing out the iterations that we did for the based on the feedbacks and based on the data we collected on the previous two versions of testnet. So it's still a testnet, but like it's one step further towards mainnet. And in mid-May, we're expecting to have a closed private alpha for mainnet. That is, the real money is going to flow on Celer network, starting from mid-May, but the scope is very closed, right? Like basically, there's no other user that is using this. We're controlling the release so that we don't have any kind of a security incident. In the meantime, we'll start the security audit for the smart contract. We'll have a security audit for the software itself, and we are expecting to launch on mainnet in a more full-fledged fashion end of June.
Well, you're moving fast, Mo, because right now everyone's sort of talking about the announcements you're making since the discussions of the private alpha. Now, have you got plans for a pipeline of applications already? Have you got applications or applicants lined up to try and utilize the network so that you can expand more, or does that just happen organically? Because obviously you would have your own team applications as well that you would like to probably trial as well. So what's the plan there, and how much do you know about applications coming?
Yeah, so we are releasing something that is kind of an interesting middleware to help people who has no blockchain experience to build on top of the Celer network. And I couldn't say very much at this point yet, but like you will see pretty soon that what's our application strategy. But like I can assure you there are going to be a very flourish application ecosystem there.
Right. Okay. So Mo, there's a lot going on. You're simply not willing to tell me, and you can't. So I'm looking forward to hearing.
Not yet. But like when we launch this stuff, like you will see. It's pretty. Yep.
Looking forward to that, mate. Now, you hit Binance, and everyone was discussing that because there are very few that have really made it to the IEO platform that Binance now provides as the launchpad. I want to talk to you, though, really frankly, about what that experience was like. Did you find that to be really advantageous for you? Because it was a difficult choice, no doubt, to go down that IEO route for many reasons. But what was it like?
Let me just address the last part. Like the price is not going down based on the IEO price. IEO price, we're like 2.5 times or close to three times higher than the IEO price right now.
Right.
Now, like from a experience point of view, I would say the experience is very good.
Okay.
So it took a lot of the load from us. Like let's say like if we're doing an initial token sale, there are KYC that we need to handle. There are like marketing efforts we need to do and all that stuff. Like pulls the energy from the core product vision that we are executing, right? So, but partnering with Binance, and Binance has like a really good team. They're extremely serious, in this process and very rigorous. The launching process is very smooth for us. Like it's basically, for us, there's much less load or marketing effort needed there. So that's very good. Now, just talking from like an experience point of view, the launchpad process does involve a very significant due diligence process. Binance team actually looking into our code, ask us question about the code, run the SDK, try things out. So they're, I would say, extremely professional and serious about like the choice of the project quality.
Right.
So
I think it's important that that I make the point now that I'm independent. So the reason why I ask is because I do want to find out more about what that experience was like for the listeners. And it's good to hear that they did the due diligence, Mo, because we don't want to just find out that later on down the track this was just advantageous, reciprocally beneficial partnership for the short term. But in fact, they are really trying to build out also as a platform for the long term as well, for the viability of the entire ecosystem of crypto and blockchain. So you're saying that they did the DD, that was a rigorous process. And that also fits well with many of the other projects I've spoken to. Matic was one example where it was very rigorous, the process they went through. So sorry to interrupt, but tell us more a bit about what the experience was like as you led up to that IEO.
As we led up to the IEO, it's I would say it's basically a natural. So we started talking, with them pretty early. And I think it's really just a process of building trust and building the confidence in the project by showing substantial and real progress that we made over time. Right. So it's a pretty natural process, and it's I would say that now I really respect all the like Binance teams, because like they are extremely professional, and the process is like well defined, well executed. It feels like it doesn't feel like any blockchain feeling, blockchain-ish feeling. It feels like a very, very formal and serious process.
Okay,
which
that's good to hear, because we need to talk money now with regard to what it meant for you, Mo. So my understanding is that about 6% of your tokens were associated with the IEO itself. So what did you find it to be a value add, because it would have cost the Celer network money essentially via the token to go and onboard onto that platform, onto the launch pad. So is there value for money in this process, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So we got well widely recognized, and the 6% of the token is also like sold to our supporters. So it's immediately get like a wider audience to the network. So for example, there are about 39,000 people registered for the sale. So like that scale of immediate marketing benefit is something that I think is extremely valuable. And I would say this relationship doesn't end in the IEO process or like in the initial sale process, right? So the relationship, I think, is actually long term as we grow, and hopefully we can have continuous support by of course proving ourselves to be worth supporting.
Sure. Now, Mo, obviously it's early days for the IEO itself, and not just for Binance, but all of them. Many of them are just moving so quickly through their launch, some of them in seconds, as you know, certainly in your case. So hopefully in time, this opens up for more time for participation. I would like to see that personally, because it means more fair access, or just a more relaxed approach to access when these kinds of exchange offerings do emerge, because it is quite stressful for people to have to rush in and to try and take part if they indeed want to.
Yeah, I mean, like I think the sales process itself is still very young. And the industry is all collectively iterating on this.
Sure, good point. Now, Binance Labs, you partnered with them. They are a separate entity to Binance. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, like we partner with Binance Lab on their incubator project, right? So Binance Lab is focusing on incubating and investing arm of Binance. And they have incubation project which basically collect a young and early project that shows some promise, and gather them together and do this incubation and acceleration process towards product market fit, towards the awareness and these kind of avenues. And we partner them in the capacity of a mentor. So we will be able to access to these early teams, and they're all great teams. At the same time, the benefits for Celer is that we have some early access to some very top talent in the industry, so that we can have some potential very early partnership there. If we see the technology of Celer can actually benefit the incubatees.
Right, and that's going to save your team time. If they've got the team to go and do the due diligence, to do the research, to find these top techs, then clearly you're going to benefit from that, because you're busy building your own network. So it's good to hear that, A, that they are separate to Binance in their research, and B, that you're forging more of these partnerships with quality as the center. Now, I wanted to talk to you also about some other partnerships that are more geared towards your tech, more geared towards building out enterprise mode. One of them was the Mobility Open Blockchain Initiative. We saw also Certic or Certic emerge as a really important verification tool for you and support in that partnership. Can you tell us about either of them or any that we don't know that are really enterprise-centric, really building out from the top down as institutions start to pay attention to blockchain, as businesses start to pay attention with applications? What's happening there?
Yeah. I mean, so for the MOBI thing, the mobility initiative on blockchain, so we get to know them because we did a proof of concept project with one of the biggest automobile manufacturer in the world. I couldn't say the name, but we did a project there involving micropayment applications and stuff like that. So we want to keep a tab on the enterprise sector because we think that eventually blockchain is going to spread out of just the consumer sector and spread into the enterprise sector. So we would definitely love to keep tab on important initiative there. There is. But at the same time, I do want to highlight here that it's, our strategy is not go to the enterprise path so much because the time to market for the technology to enterprise market is still very long. If you look at these kind of, big companies, in the world, in general, they're not early adopters. They're not adventurers, just adventuring into the very new technology. They're more of followers. Just any technology grows, the initial beginning phase is going to be extremely adventurous and experimental. So they're not that. And for us, it's just we're going to keep tab with them and involve in the discussion, involved in their thinking pattern, try to integrate with their workflow. Once a rapidly mature workflow starts to form, we want to be there. We want to be there.
Well, let's talk about that, Mo, a little bit more, because some would disagree with you in the blockchain. Some would say that these workflows need to be hastened and that the blockchain needs to be taken to enterprise so they are educated about what it can do and how it can provide cost savings for their traditional ecosystems, the traditional business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So are you doing anything in that frame to try and bridge the gap so they understand that this exists?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why we are doing this kind of these partnerships with enterprises, right? So that's why it's mainly to educate the market and keep it in the top, and we're kind of helping them to form a workflow, and where Celer is an essential part.
Right, but how's that going, Mo? What's the feedback so far? And because obviously you're talking to some you can't name, but what's the feedback been as they try to learn about what you offer as you build out this bridge and the integration to essentially enable them to use the Celer network? What are they saying back? Is the prospects positive?
Yeah, I think the prospect is very positive. They like the technology, they understand the technology. Many of them did not understand what is layer 2. Now they start to understand, oh, this is the layer 2, and this actually makes sense. So we're definitely educating the market in that aspect, and the feedback has been very positive. Okay,
awesome. Now, with the grassroots, as you mentioned, your primary focus is building that organic development through the developers. I want to start with China for a moment because it has one of the largest developing groups in the world. India is right near you, and they have one of the largest. And then there's Korea, and many of the Asian belt is substantial. So, are you building out, a strong developer base in that region, and how does the crypto sentiment affect you? Because my understanding is that China is not necessarily anti-crypto, as some people would think. It's just that it's anti-ICO specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the sentiment actually affected that much. Again, for us, we're not the model that we are trying to push to developer, or the pitch we have for developers are not that, okay, blockchain market is awesome, you should maybe jump on the bandwagon and somehow take the FOMO train and make some money, right? So this is not the pitch that we did for developers. The pitch we did for the developers is that, look, you have some existing problem. You can build applications, you can build awesome small games and stuff like that, but you don't have a monetization path. You don't have a good way to do the monetization. Now, blockchain is actually a great way for you to earn, sustainable revenue using your current technical capacity and product capacity. How about you join that? So in that respect, I don't think people are actually being affected by the crypto sentiment, at all. And yes, because we are a team with a lot of Chinese background. In that region, we're definitely doing a significant development. We're building on some existing community that we had using the courses I taught before, and also we're releasing some new courses based on blockchain, and also specifically Celer's SDK as well.
Got it. Now, are you also doing things like academic courses or hackathons? I mean, what's your core strategy to really build out these developer meetups, these developer communities?
So I think the first is always education. The education is most important, because if there's no education, people don't understand this stuff. How could they start build on top? Right. And the second is to educate through not only just knowledge, but educate through examples, educate through successful examples of the business model built on top of Celer. And that's the next phase thing, or next level thing that we're doing. That we want to create a viable business model on top of Celer and show the world, look, this stuff actually works. If you build this stuff on Celer, you can make money.
Got it. Yep, and it makes a lot of sense. So hopefully the PR strategies, hopefully all of that's built in for the traditional sector, because it's one thing for us to talk about it in the crypto sphere, but it's another thing to break out into the more traditional arena, so that people in the whole, over the globe over, can come to just simply know about your existence, because we're still in that period of time where it's 1 or 2% of the world that really have heard of crypto as a potentially viable model for reframing business, reframing startups as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So are you doing anything in that front that you could let us know about, Mo, with regard to PR that breaks that barrier between where we are situated and beyond that?
Well, yeah, PR is really about messaging, right? So, we are definitely pushing towards more clearer messaging, and it's simpler is I think the most important thing. That is, blockchain has been too complex for normal people to understand. Right. The PR focus for us is really focusing on the product that we have, and also the developer platform that we have. And the goal is to make it simple, easy to understand, and bite by bites, things that people can easily consume. Right.
Sounds really interesting that you are simplifying. Now, I want to harp back to your token metrics for a moment, because that's important for us to understand exactly how much your team still holds, or what the potential is for unlocking these tokens in what we've seen in the past as a risky scenario sometimes, where the system can be at risk because of dumping, all kinds of things. So right now, can you just give us a rundown on where the team is situated in their own lockups, where the investors are situated in their lockups, and how that is playing out?
Yeah, so first of all, these information are all on our website. I need to look it up for you, but just to serve my best memory here, we in the initial release of the tokens, when we get listed on exchange, we have 20% in circulation.
Yes.
And 15.5%. In the initial, so let me talk about sales structure first. 15.5% of the token was in private sale, and 11.5% is in seed sale, and 6% is in the launch pad, right?
Okay. Right.
So 6% there's no lockup. 15.5% there. Initial release is 2/3 of that is already released, and the rest of the private sale token is going to be released monthly for additional 2 months. That is like April is going to release.
Okay. So really what you're saying is very soon that everything will be distributed with regard to investors. And obviously the IEO was already open. So that's good to know, because we can then start to see the ecosystem be truly tested with its vast distribution. What about the team though, Mo? How long was that team, the team tokens and the foundation locked for, so that we can also trust the team leading this?
Yeah, definitely. So the foundation tokens and teams tokens has not been unlocked at all. The first unlocking date will be the 3 month mark of the listing and distribution time. And after that, it'll be 2-year linear unlocking process.
Okay, all right. So that's quite a substantial amount of time. That's like 2 decades in normal time when it comes to crypto. So it's good to know that there's that trust element built in. Now, your team itself, I wanted to ask you, have you grown since we last spoke? Have you developed your team? Is new expertise injected into the Celer system?
Yeah, definitely. We have been continuing growing our team, both on the marketing and both on the product and also on the technology team. I think we last spoke. I actually forgot what exactly. When did we last spoke?
It was quite a while ago, so too long.
Quite a while ago. So we have, as of now, let's see, 24 people. Yeah, 24 people, I think.
Okay, so you've grown. Are there any features that you think that really are outstanding since we last spoke in terms of trying to value add into the system?
Yeah, I think every one of them is extremely valuable. We have people from Google who had like tens of years of experiences. We had like MIT PhD dropouts who did like a formal verification and the programming languages. And we had like people from Google's advertisement team who did like this kind of billions of transactions, literally billions of transactions, systems on advertisement bidding. And we have a team with very long experience, 10 years of experiences in design. We have a full stack team of we also recently is about to open a Shanghai team as well. So yeah, it's everything is like growing and moving towards the correct trajectory.
Great. So the other thing to allude to is, are you cashed up? Do you have the money to continue this as enough runway to build this as you transition into a business model?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, good. Now, with regard to a tough question here, Mo, and it's up to you how you answer it, but there's a lot of different projects that are engaging with market makers, legitimately so in some instances and some not. Obviously, Wall Street, that's a very legitimate practice that we've seen for decades where they do that. So are you doing things, we talked about liquidity before, but are you doing things legitimately to make sure that you are also facilitating the development of the utility token?
I don't think I understand the question.
Okay, I'll try and be clearer. So a lot of different projects are engaging with different kinds of liquidity measures. One of them is market making specifically. So one of the things I've always wanted to do when I speak to co-founders is understand what the position is for you in your seat, because many market makers would come to you and say, can I work with you? Now, is it a difficult scenario? Is it something that does happen with the Celer network where you do engage with some sort of legitimate market making model, or is it something that Celer doesn't do?
It's something that we don't do. It's a purely market driven, and the good thing about Binance is that the real, I don't know if you see the report recently to analyze the true.
I did see that. There was there wasn't a lot of wash trading going on with the top.
Wash trading, and I think Binance is like strictly forbidden and against that. The nature or the organic liquidity on Binance is very good.
That's true. I was thinking more along the lines of future listings as well, Mo, because obviously other exchanges will want to list you. So they will be coming to you, and some of those would have market makers attached to them as connections, and that's why I asked, because everyone.
If that is the case, we won't list. Like we don't want to have any like market manipulation process in our So here's the thing, right? So this is like a token that is open. It's not something that we say, okay, you list, they list. Like
right, exactly.
We didn't even like agree Binance to list our token.
They go to you.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a token. It gets distributed, and the people, whoever wants to list it, can list it. It's out of our, but like we will first of all never proactively approach any exchange team for listing, and second, we'll also never engage in any kind of wash trading or whatever people call this stuff, like market making or something.
Right, and it's good to hear that, Mo, so that people can also know that when you do engage at that level, because obviously some of it's out of your control, but you're making the point that you will not engage in any of this kind of questionable conduct that we see that does definitely happen with a lot of different projects. And that would also be fit with your reticence to engage with anything that has questionable reputations. So I'm imagining right now that it's likely that the top exchanges with the best reputations, much like you've sort of talked about with the limited evidence of wash trading with Binance, are going to engage with you in the future. I don't think you're the kind of person who tolerates the kind of conduct that we see play out in many of them. So is it fair to say that you'll be watching carefully and monitoring the performance of different exchanges?
Yeah, I mean, like it's something that we'll do, but like this is not our focus, right? So the focus is really to drive the underlying value or the underlying utility of the token platform, or like of.
Sure. Well, obviously in the future, it's going to be interesting to see what plays out for other listings or other exchanges wanting to list you. I think that will happen simply because of your reputation. With regard to socials though, Mo, people want to find out more. How can they do that? How can they go and find good quality information to really understand what you're doing and what you're planning to build out in the future?
Yeah, so we have very abundant information in our Medium blog. So our Medium account actually updates for every week what we do. We have a weekly update that is like very rare in this industry, like right now, if you think about it. And we have YouTube channel, we have Twitter, and we have Telegram, and all these channels are great channels to keep in touch with us and just keep updated on where we are.
Absolutely. Well, mate, thank you very much on behalf of all of us who want to know more about Celer Network. For anyone who wants to learn more about blockchain and crypto, you provided a great deal of information on your network today. You're in Sydney right now. You've just finished EduCon. Thank you very much. You're doing that from your hotel. And I really do appreciate all of the frank conversation you've had. You're never afraid to tackle the tough questions, and I respect that immensely as co-founder of Celer Network. Thanks again for your time. I wish you all the best. You've got a few events coming up, one in Shanghai, and then you have some more. You're busy right now building on the blockchain. All the best for your Layer-2 solution, Mo. If there's anything you'd like to say to finish off, please go for it.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you, Brad. It's great to catch up with you. And we do have our private alpha launching. This is like the stuff that I care about most. So if you're watching, definitely check out our Twitter, and you probably will see some posts about like where to join the private alpha. We would like to hear your feedbacks on the technology, on the user experiences, on many aspects of Celer. So,
well, you've heard it from Mo, who's one of the key bosses of the blockchain. He's right there in Celer, leading the charge for trying to change the game with applications onboarding on blockchains. He's doing that with his own Layer-2 solution. Tech is always paramount for this team, and I would strongly encourage you to go and look more into the tech, because that's what matters when it comes down to changing the whole business models that we're going to see emerge in the next few decades. So thanks again, Mo, for your time, and I really look forward to catching up, mate, in the next few months as you build out towards mainnet.
All right. Thank you, Brad.
You're welcome, mate.